So Xbox has rolled out an exciting new feature to Game Pass Ultimate that may actually make the streaming component worth using. It's Sunday, so let's get sensational. I'm Mike, and I'm back to talk about the gaming news. And from what I've heard, this is just a rumor though, the Xbox is a place where people have the ability to play games. But you could also play Xbox games on a ton of different devices via streaming. And up until now, you could only stream games with Game Pass Ultimate that were available as part of Game Pass. So if you bought an Xbox game that wasn't on Game Pass already, there wasn't a way to stream it. But now that's finally changed, as Microsoft has officially rolled out a new Game Pass Ultimate feature that lets you stream your own games. So right now it's limited to just 50 games with the promise to add more in the future. But as the Engadget article points out, some of the more notable games are Cyberpunk, Stray, Witcher 3, Balatro, Baldur's Gate 3, and apparently a bunch of Final Fantasy games. I'll have the full list on the screen scrolling by as usual. But yeah, Microsoft confirmed that they were doing this a little bit ago, and now they are officially rolling it out. The thing I'm curious about is how much of their back catalog will get added to the streaming service and how long it'll take new games to be available to stream via Game Pass Ultimate. I'm guessing that the streaming component of this probably requires a different licensing agreement with the publisher or the developer, so it may be difficult to get some of the back catalog available for streaming. Now, in my opinion, streaming isn't there overall because of the latency, but some games I think work really well over streaming, something like a Stardew Valley, for example. But either way, as an added bonus to Game Pass Ultimate, it's just a nice to have feature. And maybe Game Pass Ultimate on PC could support a rumored controller coming from Valve. So back in the day, Valve did a Steam controller. This was back when they tried to make these PCs that ran Linux with a Steam interface for living room gaming. They also had other manufacturers sign on to make these Steam machines as well, but they never ended up taking off. But with that came the Steam controller, which was designed to be flexible and replicate mouse and keyboard inputs if needed. And they ultimately stopped making it because, like the Steam machines, it just never took off. But they may be back at it again. So it's rumored that Valve is working on a second iteration of the Steam controller, codenamed Ibex, and that factories are already tooling up for mass production of the controller. There's also rumor that the controllers for their next VR headset are being tooled for mass production as well. Of course, there's no word on how this controller would look or what functions it would have, but if I had to guess, it's probably going to be close to like the Steam Deck controls, but in controller form. Now, I know that on PC, Xbox controllers have pretty much become the default, but I think there's still room for a controller with touchpads that can simulate mouse inputs like the Steam Deck does for playing PC games when connected to a TV. Like right now, when I connect my ROG Ally to my TV, I usually connect up a controller, mouse, and keyboard because I know that I'll probably need all three at some point, so having a controller to help bridge that gap would be great. Now, as far as the VR controller part of the rumor, Valve still hasn't officially announced the follow-up to the Index, so we'll have to wait and see if this controller or the VR headset gets announced in the next few months. But while Valve is gearing up for new hardware, Sony is looking to buy a company that makes software. But I know you're asking who this software is coming from. Fromsoftware. That's who they're trying to buy. It's Fromsoftware. Well, at least their parent company. So Sony has sent a letter of intent to acquire the company's shares, aka buy them, to Fromsoft's parent company, Kodakawa. Kodakawa is the only one that's made an official comment on this, which was they received the letter from Sony, but they have not responded yet. Now, if Sony acquires them, then of course they'll get Fromsoftware, who made games like Elden Ring and Dark Souls, but they'll also get Spike Chunsoft, who developed the most recent Dragon Ball game, Sparking Zero, co-developed Octopath Traveler, and the most recent Mario and Luigi game, Brothership. They would also be acquiring several companies that specialize in anime, which I'm sure that's a bonus for them too, since Sony already owns Crunchyroll. If they do end up acquiring Kodakawa, it would be a huge get for them just from the game library alone. Now, obviously this acquisition would be great for Sony, but the big red flag for me is how they've treated some of their other recently acquired studios like Firewalk and Bungie. So we'll see how this whole thing shakes out, but if they do acquire them, then I hope they fare better than some of their other studios. And I really hope they fare better than some of the games on the PS5 Pro. So the PS5 Pro launched recently, and of course people have got their hands on it, and they're excited to play games on a more professional system. So I haven't covered much about the PS5 Pro recently, but similar to the PS4 Pro, games have to be patched to take advantage of the new power that the system is offering. And Sony had around 50 games ready to go with patches for the launch of the PS5 Pro. Well, some of these games are apparently running worse on the PS5 Pro right now than the PS5. So people have been reporting that Silent Hill 2, Star Wars Jedi Survivor, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and Call of Duty Black Ops 6 are having visual issues and in some cases look worse than the original PS5 version. The GameSpot article also points out that some games on the Pro no longer have the option to play the standard PS5 mode, so if these games have issues on the Pro, you can't just play the regular PS5 version of the game. The issues don't just seem to be isolated to the games I listed earlier, as Polygon's article also mentioned Alan Wake 2 is having issues with the character sideburns flickering, so it seems like it may just be a bunch of smaller issues in some cases due to Sony's new upscaling technology, PSSR. Bloober Team, the developers of Silent Hill 2, have mentioned that they're working on correcting the issues for their game, but Sony hasn't addressed any of the issues directly, which is probably because it's up to the developers to fix their games for the Pro, but it would be nice if they at least acknowledge the issues. Now, in my opinion, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth probably hurts the most because that was the game that they used to kind of sell the system that everyone pointed out that would benefit the most because of the resolution that it ran at in performance mode on the regular PS5. It didn't bother me personally, but I know a lot of people said the performance mode looks bad on regular PS5. So I feel like people probably specifically bought the Pro for that game, and now it's having issues. But this is Sony's first attempt at doing their own upscaling technology, and when Nvidia first launched DLSS, it had a lot of issues that they ironed out over time. So I'm sure that these bugs will get worked out eventually, but I know people that spent $700 on the system at launch and are having these issues, they probably aren't happy right now. But it's not all bad news for Sony's hardware this week, as they've actually added a new feature to the PlayStation Portal, and that's what we're talking about today. And our final story. So Sony released the Portal about a year ago, and it was met with a lot of criticism due to it being $200 and the only thing it does is stream PS5 games. I got a Portal and I did 2 videos on it when it first came out, and I will say that I do use it a lot and it works pretty well for what it is. But I also agree that they could have done more with it. And one of the things that was conspicuously left off the feature list for the Portal was streaming cloud games. I mean, it's a streaming only device. Sony has 2 tiers that include streaming, so it would have made sense to have that feature. Well, Sony is finally adding the ability to stream PS5 games if you have PS Plus Premium. So right now this feature is only in beta, but it allows you to stream 120 PS5 games that are included with Premium. Right now it doesn't have the ability to stream games that you purchase. You can't stream PS3 or PS4 games or the game trials that you get included with Premium, but Sony stated that they're still working on adding more features. Adding this feature to the Portal actually makes a lot of sense. Even as someone who liked the Portal at launch, I was like, why didn't they have this feature available? Now, it would be great if they extended the streaming component to PS Plus Extra instead of just Premium, but maybe they'll add support for that when it's out of beta. The other thing that's good about it is it doesn't require a PS5 to use. So theoretically, someone could get a Portal and PS Plus Premium and just play games that are available there. Now, I don't see that happening realistically, but it is an option now. There was one other thing that was updated with the Portal. There were also some audio improvements, specifically more volume options on the lower end. I have to check out the update to see if anything else improved audio-wise, because I always thought the audio on the Portal was a little tinny. But let me know what you think in the comments. Would you consider picking up a Portal now that they have the option for cloud streaming? Again, let me know down below, and if you enjoyed this video, then make sure to tell a friend, tell a coworker, like, share, subscribe, and hit that bell notification button thing to be notified when I drop a video or a live stream. And always do at least 2 things at the same time. Peace.